What's up, y'all? This is Edgar from Hard to Guard TV. I just want to say welcome back, and I want to freaking introduce one of my guys, comedian, now executive producer, Rob Stapleton. What's up, Rob?
What up, man? Thanks for having me, E. What's good, man?
We took out, we were a little late. I know you was watching Versus, writing down who's winning right now.
This just sound like two songs.
I saw when he had the girls come out.
Yeah, they kicked it up. You know, they from Atlanta and Miami, so they had to do what they had to do. They had to do.
I hear that.
So that's going to be, no matter what they play, that's going to be the part that everybody talk about when the two chicks came out.
Right, yes, that's going to be.
They had masks on.
That's going to be the shade room.
You heard me?
Yeah.
They had masks on. They were responsible.
Yeah, that's definitely going to be in the shade room and baller alert right away.
Yeah, the crazy part, when both of the strippers walked away, none of them picked up the money. You know they wanted to. You know they wanted to pick that money up anyway.
So I want to jump right in it. And, I want to say, one thing I've looked up to you from afar for a very long time. And, we sat down a couple of times and you've always told me your journey. I just don't know if a lot of people know your journey. And we're going to start back then. So people don't know, now, you're a well-known comedian around the world. And you started working at Verizon.
Yeah.
And, and then you worked at Verizon. You said, you know what? You took a leap of faith to become a comedian. And why was that? And how did that happen?
Man, it was a dope job. I was young. So I think when you're young like that, you still think about other shit you're going to do. Now, if I was older, I think I would have kept the medical, the dental, and everything that came with that. You know what I'm saying? But when I was young, it was something that I wanted to do, and I jumped into it. And this was the early stages. When I was doing this shit, this was the early stages of comedy, when the shit wasn't really, you ain't know if this shit was, it was like rap music at first. You ain't know if that shit was going to be around next summer. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So when I jumped into this shit, it was crazy, Edgar. I was working, right? Phone company. I would get there 8 o'clock, work 8 to 4, 9 to 5, and then go do my shows. And then back then you do 2 or 3 shows a night, get home at 3:30, 4 o'clock, sleep for 2 hours, get up and run back to work again and do that shit over and over again. Till it got to the point where I felt like I was making enough money that I could leave a job to do the shit.
So how did you get into comedy, and how did you figure out, you know what, I can do this?
I used to look in the paper, in the newspaper. They had different clubs. Back then, it used to be when motherfuckers used to read newspapers. Remember that shit? Before this shit, motherfuckers was reading newspapers. You know what I'm saying? From a newsstand. Remember there was a thing called a newsstand. Anyway, especially in a Sunday paper, they would have they would tell you all the clubs, and mainly all the white clubs, the mainstream clubs, tell you who's going to be there. And they all had an open mic night. So you go on the open mic night, and then an open mic night, they let you do 5 minutes, but you had to bring people. So that's the way it normally went. So I did that and was really good from the jump of it. And then from there, my man brought me to the black clubs. Mm-hmm. And that shit was like the Fight Club, Edgar. Going to from the white clubs to the black clubs, niggas. Woo, it was a whole different type of waitress in that motherfucker.
Was it tough for you in the beginning?
It wasn't. I wouldn't really say it was really all of that tough, because you it's almost like if you don't learn how to swim early in age, when you try to swim later, you're more fearful. You know what I'm saying? If you don't swim or drive, you know what I'm saying? But when you do it when you're younger, you don't really care if you fall down. You just keep getting up. You know what I'm saying? Just keep getting up. And that's the type of energy that I had. I was like, yo, it was back then, it was a frenzy, man. You were running from club to club trying to beat the other comic to the other club. You know what I'm saying? And that's how it was. You was at this club in Manhattan. Then you run down to Brooklyn, come back up to do a midnight show at the other club in Manhattan. And you didn't want to be late. Yeah, that's one thing. The white clubs have a schedule. The black clubs, you just get there when the fuck you get there.
There was no really money involved back then yet.
Yeah, and the structure was crazy. You know what I mean? White clubs would pay you as soon as you got there. Black clubs try to figure something out. A black promoter will have your money, Edgar, when he asks you, did you eat? Did you eat? Did you like wings? You want some wings?
So when did you realize, for yourself, that, you know what, I got something, I can do this?
I guess when people after the show, you could tell your energy, how you command the stage, and then really how people look you in the eye and really start following you around. You know what I'm saying? When you get real fans that really motherfuckers come and you start recognizing the same faces, you go, wow, these motherfuckers are following me, like what I do. You know what I'm saying? This is the early stage. It wasn't no Facebook or no Instagram. It might have been like MySpace or some shit, but you know what I'm saying? So it was like really dedicated fans. Then I started a club called the Sugar Shack, which was like the fever of hip hop. You know, I was on the road. I started going on the road doing trips, doing shows, and that was a whole different thing, doing comedy outside of New York.
Was it better?
You could be funny in New York, but when you get outside of New York, you want to make sure you're funny outside of New York. And so I started building a relationship with comics from out of town. And I started a hot fire club called the Sugar Shack that was in the Bronx at a club called the New Savoy. And that was still to this day, it's still classic. The shit that I did, like the comics that I brought there, the energy in the rooms, it was bananas, man. It's crazy.
So when you started these shows, like, you know, talk about like some of the comedians that you met that was up and coming that you got really cool with, that, you know, you guys could kind of trade jokes and ideas with.
Well, I was slick. Like when I would be out of town, right? So let's say if you was a comedian and I met you in Chicago, right? Then if I had another show in Raleigh, North Carolina. So when we shot Comic View, or when it was like a festival of comics, you would, let's say you shot Comic View or Def Jam, you would know if you built a relationship with the producers, they would tell you which week people were coming on. So what I would do was start booking comics who I knew were funny before the rest of America really saw them. So I would book like Mike Epps or DC Curry or Monique before people really knew who they were, because I could see that they were funny early. And then they let's say if they aired on Wednesday, I would have them at the club that Thursday, because my club was on Thursday nights. So it was crazy. I would have them, knowing who aired Tuesday, who aired Wednesday, and then Thursday, they'd be like, yo, I just saw this bitch last night. Yo, this is crazy. So it was like, it was genius way of thinking. It planted it out. You know what I'm saying?
So you was a little bit ahead of the curve at the time.
Yeah, I was a little bit ahead of the curve. You know what I'm saying? So I knew the little things that people wanted. If they came to a club and you wanted them to come to your club at like 8:00, you needed to feed them. So I had some food. It was a free buffet for people to eat. And then I had like live DJ. That was early in the stages. It sounded like it was a simple thing, but they wouldn't have like a live DJ. So I had like a live DJ playing. And then I would just have the show crazy. And then what I would do as a reward after the show, right? If everybody was cool and they was quiet during the show, it was like, remember when you was in fifth grade, and if you sat with your hands folded and all of that, the teacher would give you some reward. So I felt like I did the same shit. So if you sat during the show and you were quiet when I asked you, I let people party for like an hour after the show. So they moved the chairs and tables, the motherfuckers dancing, and it was dope because it'd be the finest women in there, and dudes wanted to talk to the females in there. So it gave them a chance to network right after the comedy show.
So as a businessman, how did that shape you where you realize, you know what, I can actually make some serious money in this game?
Yeah, the business part of it. And that's how we did, man. We ran this shit as like a business. I had a contract with a hotel downtown. So I would fly somebody like Cheryl Underwood in. Like I knew Cheryl Underwood was going to be this chick, Def Jam, people going to love her. Or after her first year where she blew up, have her come in, fly her in. I had the dude who was Floyd Mayweather's personal driver. Now, he was 50's personal driver. Then he became Floyd's personal driver. My man, Sean Du, he had a limousine early. Like everybody was riding limousines. Motherfuckers wasn't doing trucks and all that, SUVs, motherfuckers in limos. So he would go pick up the comic from me from the airport, bring them to the hotel, and then I booked them to pick them up from the hotel and brought them to the show. And you got to realize these comics were from out of town, and New York is the shit. So they the shit out of town, but when they came to New York, they were scared. So I would make sure that they were comfortable like a motherfucker, because you get the best out of an artist if they're comfortable like that. So I make sure that they would, and then you know where they are too. If you have a car picking an artist up, you know where they are at all points. So and then once we did all of that, and then like I said, we would have the hotel booked every week, and looking at it as a business, as you were saying.
So who would pay you? The hotel would pay you?
No. But if you have a contract with a hotel, meaning that you're using them at least 4 or 5 times a month, you're using them every week, you get a lower rate. So our thing was, we knew we were using the comics from out of town. You might as well get the lower rate. Big business, you save money. You know what I'm saying? So those are the little things that we were doing, and then we would do them on a bigger scale. And then you would go, yo, this shit's a real business.
So who did back then? Who did you have to break bread with? Since you was
I had partner. I had my partner, John Smooth, who passed away. You know, bless my man John Smooth. We lost him a couple of years ago. Young dude, but we lost. He looked just like Cedric the Entertainer. He looked a lot like Cedric. And I had my other man Max, and Max worked for transit. I think he was a bus driver. So he came with that civil service money, you know what I'm saying, that he was investing into the club. And we all put our money up, man. We bet on ourselves, you know what I mean? Which is the motto I still do today, you know what I mean? Betting on myself.
So your first big break where people like really got to know your name was the Bad Boys comedy special.
Nah, I would say Comic View was my first one. It was a lot of people's first one. I wasn't hosting a show, but it was one of my big ones, doing Comic View, because Comic View was essential to comics because it was on 5 days a week. The shit was on Monday to Friday, and I think it also on Saturday on repeats. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Then they started doing the best of, so it was sort of like a remix of your joke where they would just get right to the highlight of your shit. And if you was in that circle, you was almost like a small street ghetto star. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So I did Comic View, and then from Comic View later on Def Jam. My first Def Jam I did was just cool. It wasn't change your career type of shit. You know what I'm saying? And then from there, Showtime at the Apollo really did a lot for me. When I did Showtime at the Apollo, you got to realize it wasn't that many venues. So when you did this, millions of people watched at that time. So you would get the work immediately. And then Bad Boys of Comedy. That really, really was the classic performance on that.
$8.
Yeah. $8 really comes from Comic View. You know what I mean?
That's the first time I saw it was.
Right. I rebirthed it and had the confidence knowing that it will work and knowing that there's millions of people who don't know me from Comic View on Bad Boys of Comedy. And that's what just really blew it up, man. That was crazy. So
after you did Bad Boys, how did your life change? Because people don't realize for a comedian, like pretty much the way you guys make money is obviously touring all around the country. Friday, Thursday, sometimes leaving Thursday.
Yeah, that's what we normally do. Right.
You're doing.
You got to leave Thursday so you could do press starting on Friday. So yeah, that's definitely how it was. It was just a lot of work, man. It was just crazy. Lots of tours, lots of dates. It was just something that resonated around the country. Got me gigs out of the country, in here. It was just dope. It was just, and it did not include just big New York is the mecca of this shit. Just a lot of work here in the city, you know what I mean, in New York, you know what I'm saying. But it had me all around, man. It was beautiful. It was fucking beautiful.
And as far as like the relationship with some of the comedians, how has that helped you? You have any mentors in the game that's like pretty much like somebody you could call and kind of lean on, or you just kind of lean on your friends?
Not really, man. Not really. I'm really like a lone wolf. It's not like I'm difficult to get along with. I have a lot of people that love me, and I fuck with people. I'm very versatile with that. But I've always been like a lone wolf, man. Like in this game, you got to kiss a lot of ass, and it's like a lot of other businesses, not just comedy. You know what I'm saying? And what happens with a lot of people is you open up for somebody for so long as an opener, as they headliner, you become a professional opener. You know what I'm saying? Where it's almost like watching somebody on a TV show and you see them in a role all the time. And then when they try to do something else, it's hard to see them in that role because you always saw them as is Todd Bridges and Willis on different strokes, and then all of a sudden he's trying to play that. You go, that's fucking Willis. You know what I'm saying? That's how I felt like if you put yourself in that feature shit for too long, it's hard to get out of that box. So it's nothing wrong with doing it, but you have to be willing to be able to close the deal yourself. You know what I'm saying? So I answer your question. It's really no mentors. I mean, there's people I love like Chappelle. I love Chappelle. You know what I mean? I think Chappelle's the shit. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And I have respect for a lot of comics. I think people are dope, but comics, man, you know what it is, Edgar? There's no license in this game.
Mm-hmm.
Like anybody, you could start doing comedy next month and then do comedy for 3 months and then say you're a comic. You know, they don't give you a bracelet or some shit or log your hours in. Anybody could say they fucking comic, but the audience has to really acknowledge, are you a comic? And that's what happened with the internet. When the internet shit boomed, a lot of people, that's the new wave of what comic is, stand-up is now. Motherfuckers can't sit and watch a stand-up. It's hard for people to sit and watch a stand-up for a half hour or an hour now. You know, it's hard to watch a motherfucker more than 2 minutes. You know what I'm
saying? And what's crazy, I actually was watching an interview with D.L. Hewley a couple of days ago, and he was talking like, you know, because of COVID, he's lost 70% of his income. And
Definitely, I lost
he has to adjust. How have you adjusted?
Shit, I just, right before I came on with you, I was selling blood outside. I didn't even know I was so popular. Yo. This shit's crazy. Selling tomatoes, bananas. Nah, but the adjustment is crazy, man. It's like I never thought it would be. I thought it would be slow periods, but not periods where shit just come to a stop. You know what I'm saying? And this shit is like, that's really what it is. It's really like to a fucking stop. It's to the point like where we're doing drive-in comedy shows. You know what I'm saying?
I saw that.
I just did one a couple of weeks ago. It was actually dope. This shit is dope. But I never visioned no shit like this last year. Be like, yo, Edgar, next year, you better come to that drive-in comedy show.
No, I actually saw it the other day. What's crazy was I was at Orchard Beach, and you know, I was on my Instagram, I got like a reminder like of actually it was last week when we did our comedy show together outdoors.
Oh yeah.
This is 2 years ago.
Damn, was that the La Marina one?
Well, we did, remember,
we did
La Marina, we did the one in Queens also.
In Queens, yeah.
And I was like, damn, that's 2 years ago. And I was like, this is a thing now. Yep. And I remember talking to you back then. You was like, you wasn't really feeling the outdoor thing because, you know.
Well, the thing with outdoors and indoors, this is the main thing. Comedy is about connection. You know what I'm saying? Just like when we're doing this podcast right now, it's about us connecting, listening, and then responding. Comedy is about when the comic's on stage, having a clear mic, being able to say what you say and feel the crowd. And then when they laugh, it bounces off the wall and that energy comes back to you. And then you improv and you start doing more shit that you didn't even have written. When you're outside, a lot of the shit just goes up in the atmosphere and you have to do the jokes faster and you have to stay more connected. Because there's a lot of pretty shit outside. When you outside, people looking up at the stars, they doing their shit, they doing hookahs, you know what I'm saying? Motherfuckers smoking weed, some niggas doing lines of coke, you know what I mean? There's all type of shit going on. So, and people don't mean to do that. You know what I'm saying? They really don't mean it. It's just that they a couple of drinks in. You a couple of drinks in, you see your boy, oh, yo, what's up? Blah, blah, blah. Now you're not the comedian, you're just the dude on stage.
Yeah, so you have more control inside than outside.
And it does, and I'm not saying that it doesn't work outdoors. It just takes a lot more. The show can crumble a lot faster. Let's just say that.
So do you think, you know, because you're a visionary, do you see next year and the years after, like, where do you think comedy is going to go? Because there's, you know, probably a lot of people in the beginning are not going to want to go back inside after this whole COVID thing.
Comedy is going to boom. Comedy is going to boom. It's just going to be one of the things that's going to boom. Like if comedy was a stock on the market, you know what I mean? I would tell everybody to put money into that. You know what I'm saying? It's the same way like how Netflix is. Like, you know, you have a lot of stocks. Netflix stays at 500 because it's just a valuable commodity. Not to say that Netflix is just comedy, but it's something that people are going to want to get at. You have the election coming up. You have people people are very antsy and shit right now. They want it. They want some comedy. They want it. They're going to want it, man. They're going to want it. It's going to take a little bit of time, like you said, but the clubs are just going to have to. The comics are going to have to take less, and the clubs are going to have to fit less people in there. You know what I mean? You know, because they were trying to do this shit in the South, but these motherfuckers just don't believe in masks, man.
Yeah, they don't. Yeah, they don't.
That's the round robin of this shit. Motherfuckers don't believe in these masks. Like me and my wife was reading some shit the other day, and it said Walmart just put out a notice that they're making it mandatory to wear masks in all the states. Like, we're 6 months into this shit, and you just mandating that shit now? That's like if there's a chick in your building that's burning everybody on your block, and then dudes say, yo, I think we should wear condoms, yo. I'm saying, yo, I'm thinking we should wear condoms. It took you 6 months to realize this shit. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, I mean, like, we're in phase 4 now in New York, but still the indoor shit is, you know, you can't really do the indoor entertainment. You can't have the indoor shit. So you knew shit was bad, Edgar, when they allowed you to buy you could buy liquor to go.
Yeah,
you could buy a mixed drink to go. You just had to look at the cashier and go, oh, I'm not the driver. And they go, okay. Give me the drink. That's how bad it was. They were just like, yo.
So one of the things that you've been doing, though, is skits on Instagram, which Steve the Snitch is my favorite. What made you say, you know what, I'm going to take advantage of this platform? And you also work with Mr. Commodore. You and Mr. Commodore have done some.
Yeah, that's my boy Ty. Ty come from the stand-up world. You know what I mean? Ty come from the stand-up world, but Ty knew what his strong point was, and he wanted to be more an actor and all that stuff, and he jumped into that. And as me, I fought against the grain. I fought against the grain for a while. Then I was like, what the fuck am I fighting? Just do some shit. I'm funny. Because I was doing sketches way before they were popular. You know what I'm saying? So only thing you got to do with that, just make them shorter and get to the joke. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Shorter and get to the joke. Motherfuckers love Steve the Snitch.
Hilarious.
Steve is the dude that you know, but you hate, but we all know a motherfucker like that.
Yeah.
You know, because in the hood, it ain't cool to snitch, but Steve is so blatant with it that it's comical. You know what I'm saying?
Every time I see it.
The number one comment people put under Steve the Snitch is, why is this nigga still alive?
I remember the funny one. I remember when you're at it looked like Dominican, you was up in the Heights, and, you know, the guy was like, he threw you up on the wall, and it was
right? Yeah.
Headphones. He was like, "Oh, it's my headphones. I couldn't find it. Thank you for finding it." And I just started dying.
The Migos.
Yeah. So, you know,
that was the improv joint, right? After I said, "Damn, okay, if he's going to throw Steve against the wall and he sees it, like." I said, Steve is so dumb that it plays right along the lines like that the dude would go, oh, okay, and it just keep going.
So, you know, one thing is you're very creative and you're very, you know, you have a vision. You know, one of your passions that a lot of people don't know about is your writing.
Mm-hmm.
And you finally came out with a movie that you've been working on for a very long time.
Edgar, I've been working on this movie so long, I think the lights had just went out in your documentary, Blackout. I first started this shit, yo. I think Jay had just went to Saint Tropez. Great job with your documentary too, man. A lot of people don't know as we get into my film that documentary you did, the Blackout's crazy, man.
I appreciate that. I want to talk about, like, why did you, you know, your passion for writing, where did that begin, and when did you know that you wanted to do a movie?
I've been writing for a while, man. I used to write for a show. It used to come on back when like my first couple of years of writing, I wrote for a show called the Uptown Comedy Club. and I wrote some dope sketches on there. And I knew that let me know that I could do it. You know what I'm saying? Then I got caught up in this wave where waiting for Hollywood to call me to say, hey, I'll go and audition for this and that. Then I got to this shit and I was like, fuck that. You know, I can write a vehicle and do it. You know what I'm saying? The hardest part about doing that part is just getting the money to fund it to get it shot. You know what I'm saying? Because nobody really believes when you do independent because there's so much bullshit out there. People just think it's just going to be part of the next bullshit. So I took my skills of writing, surrounded myself around the best actors that I could put my hands on, pulled them in, and then we shot the film. You know what I mean? And it was a point that this is the first of many other things that I'm going to do. You know what I mean? But to get the first one out, it's like an artist getting their first album out. It takes a while. You know what I mean? But then you crank the second and the third and the fourth one out. Each one's going to be better and better and better. You know what I'm saying?
So how long did it take you to write the stuff?
Shit. I actually wrote the stuff. Yeah, I actually wrote stuff around 8-9. I actually wrote the stuff around 9 years. No, around 10 years ago.
10
when
years?
I first wrote it. I wrote the first draft of it, and it changed. It was always the same main characters, but the situation I always flipped. You know what I mean? Then I just kept adding things. And then it was a whole bunch of different actors that were supposed to do it. You know, Mike Epps. Then I was talking to Tracy, and then Tony Rock. And then I ended up with my man, Al Thompson, you know, ended up doing it. And I think he did a dope job in it. But yeah, it took me like 10 years just sitting. And then a few years later, I would say Edgar really, man, around 11 to 12 years. And then it went dormant for a while. It wrote it, then it just went. Then the process of doing it was like 2 to 3 years after I got it done. It takes a while, man. It takes a while when you do it independent. You just want the final product to be off the chain.
So when did you put your foot down and say, you know what, I'm going to make this happen?
Shit. I felt like, you know what it was? I had moved to California for a while. I had to deal with NBC. And I was fucking with NBC out there for a while. And then when all of that ended, I came back east, came back to New York. I had a moment where I could stay in LA or come back to New York. I decided to come back to New York. So when I came back to New York, I was like Tupac when he came out of prison. I was just like, yeah, remember when he just stayed in the studio because he was writing and writing. That's what I was doing in LA, writing and writing. And I just said, yo, I was like nonstop. Like, you know, I'm getting this done. You know what I mean? And I got turned down by a lot of people, and then I had people who believed in me. We moved forward and shit.
So talk about like that whole process when you did the movie, like, because you did it pretty much out of your own pocket.
Yeah, I did a lot of it out of my pocket. I had investors, a couple of investors that came in. But long story short, I feel anybody that's listening and they're looking to do an independent film, they don't believe in your script. You know what I mean? Anyone that thinks you have a super dope script and you're going independent, you're lying to yourself. All right. Not to say that your material isn't good, but if you're getting investors, your investors are only going to give you money if they believe in you. All right. It's pretty much they're paying you off because they believe in you. They believe in you. They taking what they can afford, something that's not going to make them homeless, some disposable money that they have, and they're investing in you and hoping that it comes back. But they believe in you that much. So I took that. And I invested in myself, put my own money in, and then shot the film. We shot the film in like 13 days. We didn't do weekends. We shot during the week. And a lot of favors. Michael Blackson did me a favor. My man, Danny Garcia, the boxer, is getting ready to fight Errol Spence in November. He is his first, his movie debut. My man, Gary Sturgis, he's a guy that I really wanted, man. I've seen him in a Tyler Perry film. And I thought he was a dark, dope actor, serious actor, and I brought him in. Then, you know, I'm wanting some sex appeal and some other great acting. I got my girl Melissa Ford to come in. You know what I mean? When Melissa came in, I wasn't sure if she was going to be a diva or what. Man, she was beautiful. She was good people. Great person. People, man. Great people. What's no diva? No, I need this. I need, you know, all yellow M&Ms and, you know what I mean, and all green Skittles. She was on set. She was on time. She was dope. And that was pretty much, I lucked up during the shoot with the actors coming in and doing their job. It was stressful as fuck though, Edgar. When you
Yeah,
shoot
I
it,
was gonna say, how stressed were you? How much pressure did you put on yourself?
yeah, it was it was stressful as shit. The name of the film is called The Stuff, and it was just take for example, there was one scene we were shooting, right? We shooting some dope dramatic scenes, and when you shooting, you always prep for the next scene. You always have to have the next scene up, right? So we're shooting, and I'm not actually in the scene. I'm actually executive producing, checking it out, blah blah blah, and waiting for the car that's supposed to come on set. That's has the props, and the car is the prop for the next set, for the next shoot. Was it coming? Was it coming? And my producer, I saw him like tiptoeing to me. I was like, yo, what's up? What's up? And he told me that the car got pulled over and the dudes in the car got arrested. You know what I mean? And they were from, these dudes, the PAs were from Alabama. So the cops pulled them over and looked in the trunk, and it was all type of fake kilos of cocaine and guns in the back. And then we had the light. You know when you have an unmarked car and that light is in the front of the dashboard that goes woo, woo, and it goes like that. So that was already up there. So they thought these dudes were going to be fake cops, and they would get ready to bust people and take their money. Mm-hmm. So they arrested them, took them to the precinct, went into each bag of cocaine, of powder, and make sure it wasn't cocaine. And then before they released them, two cops came to the set where we were, and you could tell they were detectives right away. They had like you see a little bulletproof shit under their shit. And then one dude came right to me. He said, "Rob Stapleton." He knew. I'm happy he was a black comic. He knew cop. He knew who I was. So his whole energy changed. Because the PAs told him we were shooting the movie, and when he came on set and saw it, they let us know what had happened and everything, and they let the guys go. But that shit was stressed because it costs you money still. Yeah, like you're doing that shoot, it still costs. The meat is still running. So now that same day, right? This is how deep it goes when you shoot a film like this. If you're doing a big budget, you got everything paid, everything's laid out. But when you're doing independent, my nigga. So after that, Michael Blackston's coming on set. After that just happened, Michael just got picked up. Michael Blackston came on set to get ready to shoot his scene. Right after Michael Blackston's scene, Charlie Baltimore was coming and Gary Sturgis to shoot their scene. And we supposed to do a relocation to Staten Island, but for some reason the venue wasn't prepared for us or something. So now we didn't have any venue. Now I already have the actors there. They're on a clock. The cast is there. The crew is there. They all can still get paid. It's not like you go, okay, guys, you know what I mean? You got to pay them. So, we didn't have anywhere to shoot, man. We were actually homeless while we were shooting, right? So the director bumped into his boy that lived in one of the brownstones on that block. And he turned over his brownstone. And I'm not making this shit up. This shit is real. He said, what's up? And he said, yo, man, we don't have up. He said, come use my brownstone. Now, when somebody even tells you you could use their shit, you don't know if it's going to be good enough to shoot at. It could be all type of walls and columns and shit where you can't shoot at. He have a dog that he don't want to move his dog. You know what I mean? You can't tell this motherfucker, yo, move your dog, yo. We shoot in your house now. Like, you know what I mean? But it worked beautiful. The colors, it fit all into the scheme of how we were shooting that scene. It was like God looked down on us and was like, I got you on this. And it was one of the dopest scenes, and it was two of the dopest scenes in the film happened that day, which was dope.
To talk about, like, once the movie was done, obviously I know about independent film, and once the movie is over with, then now you have to shop it. I know how it was for me. I just want you to explain how it was for you.
Well, okay, before you even do that, it's a process where you start screening it for people. You take the process, and the movie is still raw. It doesn't have any color, and it doesn't have any sound. When we look at what we look at on TV and in the movies, is sound layered on there. There's color laid down to make it look beautiful. It's like it's like a box of cereal. You got the picture and all of that type. You're supposed to look like that, and that makes the kid go, ooh, ooh. And when it's raw and you show that to your first set of people, you don't know if they're going to be able to see through that to know how it's going to look later. And you actually one of the early people, one of the early people, because I needed people that are going to tell you the truth, not people that are going to be like, oh, this is nice. Like, You need to go, it's a little slow here, or it's blah, blah, blah. And you know, it was overwhelming, but everybody saw the potential on where we were going with the film. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
So that's the first process you got to do. Because I come from the stand-up part where I can make adjustments while I'm on stage. In the film, you can't do that. When the shit is on the screen, you can't stop it, stand in front of it, and tell people what you want them to see. They're gonna see what the fuck is on the screen. So yeah, that was huge. It then came the part with the distribution. You know, you start looking at, okay, who's going to where's it going to go? Is it going to go to Netflix, Hulu, Amazon, Tubi, or all of this stuff? So what I did with the film, because I actually wanted the film to come out before June. We released the film in July, I mean, but I really wanted the film to come out in May, April and May, but we just were off. So what I did was release the film on Vimeo on demand. I did it on Vimeo on demand as producers that are listening. They give you a great percentage of it when you do it that way. And then I have all of my other deals coming in after that. BET, Netflix, Tubi.
So you have been talking to.
Yeah. All of those other things falling in place afterwards. So I took it and did the Vimeo, and that's where people can see it now on Vimeo on demand. You know what I'm saying? I'm getting great reviews. People really love it. You know, when you got a great review, people want to see a sequel. And people are like, yo, there's going to be a sequel to this shit, right? Like, there's a sequel, right?
So, if anything from this whole process, what did you learn and what would you change from the beginning?
I've learned the process of shooting a film. It's always going to be hard. It never gets easy. It gets easier, but it's never easy. I've learned my pre-production to get tighter, even tighter with my pre-production. I learned how important post is. People don't understand how important post is. After the movie's done, you got to put makeup on that bitch. You know what I'm saying? So that part is, and that can be as expensive as what the film was. You know what I'm saying? If with depending on how you do it and the things that you want to get done to it, then always have your distribution set up beforehand. First look distribution set up after you're done. Don't just go get to the lake and then realize you don't have the fishing rod with you. You know, check all of that out and make sure that shit's in the trunk.
Yeah, but also like with the whole distribution, it's like, you know, you've never done this before, so it's like now that you put your first movie and it becomes successful, everything becomes easier because now you can make a phone call, somebody's actually going to answer.
Right, someone's going to answer it, right? And the thing is, I actually was dyslexic with this. I actually had it the other way around. I was supposed to have a hard time doing the movie, and the other part is, so the thing is, I actually was dope making a movie. This part was the harder part. You know what I'm saying? But like I said, you know, you live and you learn, and it's my first one, so it only gets easier and better.
So what's the next project?
Oh man, it's some shit I can't even say that. I can't even say what the next one is. You my man, it's now keeping it from you. Just don't want to throw it out. If I throw it out, people go, "Yo, I had a joint like that I was by." Edgar, you ever be standing somewhere and somebody bends down next to you and you like, "Yo, what's the fuck?"
Yeah.
And then they bend down and they pick up money and you were standing right next to that money and you like, damn. If I wasn't talking to this motherfucker, I would have saw that $50 bill on the floor. Mm-hmm. That's how it is with this movie. This movie is so dope and it's so simple, but it's complex simple that if I say it, you're going to see 5 people trying to do the same thing, saying, "Oh, I had that." So I'm holding on to that until when it gets to that time.
Next year, hopefully.
Huh?
Next year you'll start working on it, or just
oh yeah. This winter. I just, you know, COVID, this second phase, this first phase is kicking our ass. So you don't know what the second phase is going to be.
I know. I just shake my head every time I wake up in the morning. I look outside and I still see people with masks. I'm like, even 6 months later.
Yeah. Oh, I shake my head when I see motherfuckers without masks. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. So one of the dope things that you did, obviously it stopped because of COVID. You was doing a Tuesday night comedy night at Salsa con Fuego.
Right.
And how did that come about? And you wasn't announcing the stars that was coming, but man, every Tuesday was a bigger name. And then the next Tuesday was a bigger name. Like, how did you do it?
Well, you know what it is? It's using my over 20 years plus being in the game, plus having a venue that that doesn't mind working with you. You know what I'm saying? They really have a budget and they really believe in themselves. You know what I mean? That's the blueprint of how they like to run their night. So when you combine, it's like having a team in your basketball analogy. You have a dope roster, but you have your management and your GM is off the chain. So they know before the star complains what's going to make them happy. You know what I'm saying? So they have a 2 or 3 year plan. So that's what makes us so off the chain. That's why we're able to bring the Mike Epps, the Michael Blacksons in there, the Samores, the Tiffany Haddish. You know what I mean? I had Tiffany Haddish the week that Girls Trip was coming out. You know what I'm saying? Girl Trip came out that Friday. I had it in the club that Tuesday. You know what I'm saying? So that Tuesday, right leading into it, when she was doing all of that stuff, and from there she just took off. Like, it was not to say that she took off because she was at my show. It's just that she was already tick tick boom. You know what I'm saying? So it's like that every week, man. We bring everybody in there, man, and it's like a Friday Saturday show on a Tuesday. It got to the point where the brand was so dope that we had to do Tuesday and Wednesday. You know what I'm saying? We had to add a second night. You know what I'm saying?
So how did that make you? Probably the best question is right now.
Hold on. About to cry because all that shit is gone now.
It's gonna come back.
You're bringing up old shit.
So when you're around these great comedians, and obviously a majority of them are pretty much great people, what would you tell me? Tell me a great story when you're around each other that nobody ever knows. So what do you guys actually talk about?
You know what's the greatest? That's a dope question. You know what was some of the greatest shit? I love when I have DL Hughley there. Like, DL is one of my favorites. Like, when I say Chappelle, he's the voice of a generation. You know what I mean? He's smart. He's funny. He has longevity. He's an original king of comedy. He's been on the biggest tours. He's had a sitcom. He's done the Brothers, the movies. You know what I mean? He's 5-point trifecta. You know what I mean? 5 points. Boom, 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 boom. And just sitting there and kicking it. A lot of comics, sometimes they do the show, they ready to go right afterwards. You know, it's been a long day, a long night. You know what I'm saying? They ready to go. Or sometimes we have 2 shows and they ready to go. Like, you know, I get some rest. Just sitting there and kicking it and listening to his wisdom. And when we talk politics or we talk just shit in the game, we just be off the chain. And even though he passed away before I could get him at the club, Charlie Murphy was the same way. Like, when just sitting and talking to Charlie, and like Charlie would just tell you, you don't have to ask too many questions with Charlie. Like, the more you just shut up and listen, the more he would just open up with you and just tell you shit. And you could tell that was the brilliance in Chappelle. Like, Dave knew, I'm just going to listen to what Charlie got to say. Like, he doesn't lie. He may embellish on some shit, but he's telling you this shit is factual. He got receipts. You know what I'm saying? And just being with them. Sometimes after the show, we'd be in the dressing room 2 hours after the show was over, still there. Where they, like, when we leave the dressing room, we don't know that the rest of the club is shut down. Like, the lights is out. There's 2 people who got the keys and they waiting for us to leave. Like, you know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's crazy. And then, like, when I had Damon Wayans is one of my favorites. Like, he's like the Eddie Murphy for me. You know what I'm saying? And just to have a one-on-one with him in the green room and like to just puppy dog him, man, where you just like listen to what he's saying, man. He look at you. He don't like just look away and talk. Like, he's like listening to what you got to say, and then he's laughing. And then, you know, my wife got to meet him before at Caroline's, but having him at Salsa was just dope, man. Like, Damon is that dude, man. Damon is that dude. People don't even know. Fucking Living Color. Yeah, Living Color. But he was on Saturday Night Live before in Living Color. So he had Saturday Night Live experience, and they tried to hold him back. Then he had Living Color. So he went to Living Color with all of that energy from shit Saturday Night Live wouldn't let him do. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. Funniest moment when you was with the guys, and that, you know, that you remember today that you laughed so hard that
you say with the guys, meaning the comments?
Yeah.
Oh man, there's so many, man. I can't just think of, like, This man, we just like when Mike Epps is there, we sit and talk about the old times, like the Sugar Shack or Michael Blackston. We talk about when he used to sleep in my house and shit. You know what I mean? And all of it's just like comics don't stop. So it's like we'll always go on and on and on. Like just and then somebody remembers something that the other motherfucker forgot, and then it all comes back. You like, oh yeah. So it's like. It is some shit I can't say. You know what I mean? It's some shit that you talk that's supposed to stay in the room. You know what I'm saying? So it's just I can't. I don't have any one. You know what I'm saying? It's just dope. You know what I'm saying? You know, some of the dope shit is when comics watch another nigga bomb. Sometimes we have experience. We don't want somebody else to bomb. At least I don't. But just talking about that, about this motherfucker did so bad that we had to blah blah. It's just like. That is hilarious with comics, man. That's hilarious.
So yeah, I got like 2 more questions. So one of the questions is, what would you tell 21-year-old Rob Stapleton?
Just stay on time. Like it's sort of like I like Derek Jeter. Let me give you this analogy. Derek Jeter came to the Yankees. He came and the Yankees were like in the playoffs for like 7, 8 years in a row. And he was in the World Series like for the first 3 or 4. So it seemed easy it seemed like every year that was going to happen. Then they had a span of the time where the Red Sox got hot and you know, the Seattle and they bumped them. And you had to realize, damn, this shit isn't given. Like next year isn't promised. You have to still put in the work. And that's the analogy I always give. With Jeter, and that's his part of his greatness is that he came in and the Yankees were at the pinnacle every year with him at shortstop. But then those years it didn't happen. I feel like if I went back to that age, I would be like, my work ethic would be off the charts. You know what I'm saying? Would be more fierce. My work ethic would be endless, like how I am now, where I can't even sleep. Like I'm up. Like my wife had said, hey, go to bed. Like it just, you know, whatever. She just leaves me alone, starts cutting off lights around me and shit. Like, oh, it's one of them nights. Like, you know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. But that's how I feel. It's like I can't wait to get to the next movie. I can't wait to do the next joint. It's like I have TV plans, I have movie plans. And the crazy part that drives you crazy, the shit that drives you crazy, is I know I could do it. You know what I'm saying? I know I could do it. Some dudes are just happy being stand-up comedians. I'm not. You know what I'm saying? I'm not just happy. Some dudes want to play in the NBA, but they don't look at coaching. Some dudes be like, they know, like I'm a coach. Like I'm going to coach, like afterwards. Some dudes like, I ain't fucking with that. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know what I mean? I'm taking this money. I'm opening up a studio. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I hear that. So I went to the NBA quick. So have you been watching the games, and what do you think about this whole bubble thing and you know, your whole thoughts?
Yeah, I've been watching the games, man. The first couple of games, the first night was off the chain, like right out the box. You know, the Lakers and the Utah game, the Utah and who did Utah play the first game? I don't know, but it was dope. That Utah game, and then the Laker Clipper game was right after that. Both of those games. Then the Houston game the other day was dope. It looks good. It looks good on TV. You know, they got the little fake fan thing on the side. But I think the bubble is necessary. You know, I don't think the dudes are responsible enough to be able to handle. It's hard, man. When you're in the NBA, you're young. They throwing all of that money at you, and everybody wants something. It's hard, and being in Florida, it's hard. It's necessary for them to have to do the bubble that way. This shit would last 2 weeks. It would be 2 weeks, and the shit would be gone. The whole league would be sick.
Yeah, look at baseball. Baseball's crazy.
Because they still have to travel. You know what I'm saying? They still trying to figure that shit out. You know what I mean? The thing is, you could test today, be negative, and then 2 days later, just be as positive and then a motherfucker. You know what I mean?
And you're a huge Knicks fan. I know that.
You know what I really am? I'm really, really, really a big Nets fan. I'm a Knicks fan because I'm a New Yorker. No. I've been a Knicks fan. I've been a Nets fan since. Remember Michael Ray Richardson and Ray Williams, Mike Dimension.
Hold on, Michael Ray.
Yeah. Albert King, Mike. You know what I mean? Williams. You know what I'm saying? Because like I'm a New York fan, so I like the Knicks. But the Knicks, I don't like their management. You know what I mean? So I refuse. It's like if I go to a deli and I could tell a dude is nasty every time I order a pastrami, I'm gonna be like, yo, fuck this. I've been coming here for 9 years. Fuck it. I'm not gonna come here no more. If every time I come and get a sandwich, this motherfucker is nasty, giving me less and less meat every time I come here. Why? And there's a deli across the street. Why wouldn't fuck I go over there? You know what I'm saying? This motherfucker don't give a damn about the Knicks. It's all about the money. You know what I mean? It's all about the money. You know what I'm saying? And he owns so many other businesses. The only way you can make the Knicks, and I want to fuck up any NBA connections that you got. So just shake your head. You got to add to this shit. We just get this shit off. Is the fans need to stop buying them tickets. It's just that buying a Knicks ticket is just a cool shit to do. To be on the phone, be like, where you at, yo? I'm at the Garden, yo. The games suck and the team sucks. You know what I mean? They try to fool us every year and act like they brought in new. Now they brought World Wide West and blah, blah. And my man Strick, I love Strickland. They bringing, everybody in. I saw this shit before.
Wait, Strick, he didn't take the job yet.
Well, I feel it's gonna happen. I feel it's gonna happen. Hold on. I feel it's gonna happen.
So who's gonna be the next coach for the New York, the Brooklyn Nets?
I hope it's Jackson, or I hope it's my boy, my dude, Lou. I hope it's Lou, or I hope it's Jackson. Yeah, and if it's not, I hope Pop comes over from San Antonio. It's time for him to leave San Antonio. They'll both respect Pop. But I'm gonna tell you this: the Brooklyn Nets gonna make some fucking noise next year.
Next year, yeah.
You saw what they did in Milwaukee the other day, right? You saw what they did in Milwaukee,
and they got.
And the Nets top 7 players didn't play. The top 7 players didn't play. Top 7, the 7 top dudes didn't play.
No, it's impressive.
It's crazy. They're gonna be a problem next year. It's gonna be a problem next year in Brooklyn, man.
Yeah, so I just want to say, thank you for coming on. And where can people watch the stuff at? Where can they order it? And support.
Yeah, man. First of all, man, thank you for having me on, man, to help me push the narrative like you always do. Edgar, appreciate you for that. You're a stand-up dude, man.
I want to be involved in your next movie, man.
Early. Yeah, we're gonna talk. We definitely gonna talk. The name of the film is The Stuff. Anybody wants to see it, you could just go type in thestuffmovie.com. Thestuffmovie.com.
Oh, so The Stuff, and you could do it on your TV and
right. And if you have a smart TV, you could cast it on the TV. If you got one of them old motherfuckers, you got to bang on the side. It ain't happening. If you got if you got a smart TV,
how much does it cost to order?
The movie's $6.99, man. $6.99. It's easy. $6.99 for a feature film. That's dope, and you're gonna love it. You know what I mean? So gather the family around. It's R-rated, you know what I mean? So it's gonna be some shit.
Yeah,
but, the movie is dope, man. Thestuffmovie.com, and it's on Vimeo on demand. All right, thestuffmovie.com. You see the trailer, you can rent the movie, read the synopsis, and everything else. Yo, Edgar, man, thank you, brother.
Rob, I appreciate it, man. Really, really, really appreciate it.
Nah, man, thank you for having you, man. I get with you. All right, man.
All right, later.
Peace.